No, Tony Stark. Iron Man is my favorite, dude. Are you kidding me? That's such a compliment. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to be here. Dude. In the flesh. Tell me. Can I tell you how happy I am? I am this happy. What's going on? I came prepped, my friend. Yeah, man. It's all love now. It's all love nowadays. I gotta say, I'm so happy. I'm living my meaning. It's been a journey, man. Like my and we've talked about this a lot, but my whole personal and professional life has been a big journey for me. It's been I've had a lot of come to Jesus moments. I've had a lot of moments where I just kind of realized the reality of the situation of who I was and who I can be and what I can accomplish. So, dude, I'm loving life. I'm so happy. I have a wonderful family, a wonderful support system, a wonderful team here at work, and hey, man, we're doing this mission one day at a time. One more stop for clean shit. That's it. Finally. Yeah, long one, man. I'll give you the Reader's Digest. So where we met, obviously, was Speakers Who Dare, where 20 of us got up on stage and shocked the world, dude. It really tried making some changes, and my thing was about something called Not Just for Profit, which is a movement that I'm hoping to get rolling and create some big change in the world. I'm not going to talk about that a lot because I want to wait for our Speakers Who Dare videos to get out there first before I share it, give them the respect to get those out there. But my talk was about kind of being this guy who was one of the corporate greed guys, right? This guy that was so wrapped up in business and money that that just started driving my life. And it started as a career, and it turned into I don't know. It evolved into this sort of monster that kind of became my identity, and it kind of kept growing and growing. And before you knew it, I was a shithead, right? Like as I said in that speech, I was just this guy that I didn't recognize myself, and I looked in the mirror, and it was just a totally different person than I was 10 years before that, and shit hit the fan, right? Like that ego that was spawned from this time in business and this focus on money just grew me to a person that nobody liked, right? So not even myself, but I didn't know it at the time. I was too egotistical to really know it, if that makes sense. Yeah, it was just like, hey, it's everybody else, it's not me, right? Yeah. Yeah. And it was just a big rock bottom, man. It was big career issues. It was a divorce that I was going through with two little kids, and no one to blame but myself, really. And then all of a sudden you're kind of at square one without the career, right? Without the family, without most of the friends, and you're just like, what am I doing here? This was me. This wasn't other people. This was me, and then I started, as with anything, right? I'm a business consultant. I teach people how to sort of build the foundation of their businesses first and then kind of grow from there. So I knew that I kind of had to do that in my life again. I had to rebuild the foundation, and I just focused on interpersonal relationships. I focused on my kids and just, being the father that I always knew I could be and the father that they deserved. And, kind of grew my I don't even know what you call it, my personality, my soul from there. And then all of a sudden it was like this moment where, okay, that part of me is firing on all cylinders again. And just the ego really started to just melt away because there was nothing to be egotistical about. I was nothing. I had nothing anymore. Yeah, that's my biggest driver, man. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen. I think I'm a smart man. I think I'm very introspective, and I know enough that I won't ever let that happen again. And the way I've lived my life in the last 10 years or so, it's just kind of come to a point where, I don't think that'll happen again. But there's that PTSD. There's that trauma of like it's there. It's like around the corner. It's I'll close a big deal. I'll close a big client and you're like, yeah, fucking A, like, oh my God, like this is it. You know, that's muscles marinara right there. Walking out to separate ways with my iPad. So for those that don't know, Mark and I spoke about this, well, chatted about this during another one of his shows. And Muscles Marinara is my alter ego in wrestling. There you go. The Thrilla in Manila with Manila Ice. Um, no, no, not at all. Not at all. Things would have continued status quo, and I would have just gotten myself into a situation that, I would have been alone but successful. I think it was kind of both. It was like the loss of success plus being alone that kind of sparked everything. But yeah, no, I think we would have been in a totally different position. Um, yes and no. Yeah, yeah, like yes and no. There are ones that are gone forever. That's okay. And but yeah, I kind of had to rebuild trust. I think with a lot of people to kind of get back to that point where not only do people want to be around me again, but I think I've sort of built it back to that place where I think I am that guy that I was way before all this. That authentic self. Yeah, it's so important. It's really part of people's journey. I'll tell you a quick story of where I kind of realized that this evolution is happening. By the way, I just want to throw out there, I'm getting a lot of messages that people can't hear your audio, but they could hear mine. Yeah. So my where I kind of realized that this evolution was so important in who I was to become was it was sort of towards the end of this. I don't want to say end because you're ever evolving, but it was sort of towards the end of this time period where I sort of kind of gained everything back after I lost it, right? So I worked on my interpersonal relationships first, my kids, family, and then kind of grew from there. And then I got to this point where I felt good, right? Like I felt like 90% whole, but there was still like this part of me that was missing. And it wasn't until I kind of took the jump to start my company that everything changed, right? Like all of the sudden, this company is firing on all cylinders. And the way I started it was about, even though we're a business consulting firm and we charge money to do what we do, it wasn't about the money. It was really about helping people. I had been, forget about all my other personal experiences, but the professional experience that I had over the course of, however many years since I finished college was so big and so immersive that I knew I could help people with that experience. And when I got out there helping people and really changing people's businesses and lives through my company, and the company started becoming successful and that work element was back in the right way, it was like, boom, right? Like everything was back. Like that 90% became 150% whole. Like I felt like I was exactly where I should be. I felt like myself. And it just showed me that there was still evolution that I needed, even though I felt like I had gotten to the point where I, got back to being a good person and somebody that people wanted to be around. The company thing just showed me that there's parts inside of me that need to be fulfilled as well. And work was not work just because it's a job. Work, like what I do for a living, is a part of me. To me specifically, it's very important. So it just kind of showed me like, wow, like I can't believe that this was such a big part of me that was missing. And even the work that I was doing before was just unfulfilling to me. It didn't matter. It didn't mean anything. And ever since then, it's been this attitude of like, hey, I'm never here anymore. I'm always just kind of on the slow rise in life, and I will continue that rise throughout all my years. I mean, not in a status way, in a sort of achieving that conscious. You know what I mean? Like it's you're ever evolving, you're ever growing. You learn something new every day, and it was super important to me to kind of realize that evolution was something that I needed to embrace, and yeah.
Yeah, what I love about what you're throwing out there, number one, is if people can hear me, hit some hearts, tell George yes, like let me know that you can hear me over on George's end. Can you still hear me, George?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What I love about the idea of ever growing is not only are you growing as like a human, right? But like you're also talking about some things that are very fundamental to being a child, right? You're curious about life. You're learning every single day. And so like there's this wonderment. And that was one of the first things that I noticed about you is like there's this wonderment that you have in meeting other people, in being on the stage. You've had multiple TEDs. And when I saw you, it was like there was this freshness to everything. And I love that. For everyone in general, why is it that being ever growing, constantly changing, why is that so important though? Like, why is it so important that we're always changing? Like, let's say that somebody hits something and it's working right now. Today it's working. Why not just automate that and turn it into a ritual and just lay back and chill?
Well, so that's a great question, and I'll answer that in two ways. One is I'm always the business guy, right? So I'm going to sort of I'm going to equate this on a business level, is that when you have something working on a business level, it's like it's working and it's great, and you could sell this product as is, but things are going to change. Times are going to change. The market's going to change. So you have to sort of evolve in order to keep engaged, right? To keep engaged with your clients, to keep engaged with the people that work with you, work for you, that you work for. So it's sort of the same to me in life, in that, there's, in order to keep life fresh and happy, it's not just about, to me, it's not about the status quo. It's about sort of finding your happiness every single day, which is super important to me. So you have to evolve, On another note, though, really, depending on who you are in life and what your abilities, what your resources are, I think that people have a responsibility to evolve and to help other people evolve. And that's something that I didn't realize in the first leg of my career. That's something that I realize now. I'll give you a great example in Speakers Who Dare. I love that you pointed out that I walked in all fresh face, having already done 2 TED Talks and a bunch of speaking gigs and keynotes. I could have taken that as just another gig, right? Yeah. But I didn't, because what was super weird for me with that one, and again, I evolved during this thing, was all of a sudden we had a private Facebook group with all the Speakers Who Dare. A few days before, I started seeing the anxiety coming out in the group. People were being honest. They were being authentic. Hey, I'm nervous. I feel like my speech doesn't matter anymore. I feel like my topic doesn't matter. What are you doing? And I was like, you know what? It's almost like this fatherly kind of instinct kicked in, because I've done this, and I happened to, for this one, not be nervous. I was excited for this. I wanted to meet all of the speakers. I wanted to go out there and send my message out to people. But this like fatherly instinct kicked in, where I was like, you know what? I think I could help here. So I started PMing people privately and speaking to them and posting positive messages on the group. And I knew when I walked into that room that it was going to be a different experience for me. And going in there with that attitude, that accepting attitude, kind of, willing to meet new people, willing to do a different thing, and willing to not be, the pro or the expert in the room, just being one of the guys, one of the people. It was crazy. I mean, you felt it too. I've never done a speaking engagement where it wasn't about me. Meaning, not that the event is centered around me, meaning when I walk into that room and I'm prepping and I'm doing my thing, I have to get in my zone, do my thing. It's about my talk. And then when my talk's over, I leave. I'm done. Even if I'm part of a thing with 20 people. This was not that. This was a community. This was 20 people walked in to send 20 messages. But guess what happened? 20 people walked in and sent one message out. And I have 19, well, including the producers and everything, I have over 20 people in my life now that, have this memory ingrained in my heart that I'll never forget.
I mean, we became a cohort. There's a sense of belonging in that. And one of the things that I really love about what you talked about was it's one thing to go through personal development. It's another thing to go through personal development and say, now that I've gone through my personal development, I understand that I can make a bigger impact in the world as a result of my personal development. George 3.0 has the ability to go out and impact in different ways now. And that's something that anybody can do, and I went to college in the 90s. And so there was impact that was involved, but personal development and business impact or starting movements, never the two would meet back in the day.
Right.
It was always about you put down a rigid strategic plan, you don't plan for the chaos, then you're strategic planning again, a couple months later, right? Now all of a sudden it's, okay, let's see if we can play some jazz, but mostly what have we been brought here to do, and who will we be impacting, positive or negative, and what is our ethical obligation to serve, right? And so when I'm hearing this idea of evolving, I'm hearing this idea that not only would an individual evolve, but as a result of the new evolution, the new iteration of George's, the new iterations of Gurley, Lauren, Joanne, those people in the watch party, there is now a responsibility to come back and serve, right? So let me ask you this. When it comes to evolution, how do you know it's time for you to start really thinking about your evolution,
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a spark moment. I've talked about this concept before of the spark moment, where inspiration just hits you, right? And that doesn't happen to everybody, and that's okay. I think we all have different paths in life, and a lot of people talk to me about what I do right now and how I'm of service to the community and to other people, and they really ask me what the impetus is behind it, and the answer is, I don't know. I don't know, man. I say this line a lot, right? I had a really big moment last year where I was. So I'm gonna shout out Farmingdale, New York, because Farmingdale is where I'm from. This is my town. I am a Daler for life, right? Don't laugh at me.
No, you are so placating to the audience right now.
Yeah.
It's great to be back
In
Muscles
Farmingdale.
Marinara. It's great to be back here in New York City.
I think I heard a cheap pop out there.
There's a cheap pop, total cheap pop.
This town means so much to me, right? This town is everything to me. This town is. I was born in Flushing. I was raised in a 3-bedroom apartment in Flushing by working class parents, and on a whim, because I watched TV all the time and I loved sitcoms and I loved that suburban life in sitcoms, I asked my parents if we could move to the suburbs because I didn't want to live in the city anymore. And they did it. and they couldn't afford it, you know, at the time.
So did you want to be the Michael P. Keaton of your?
Yeah. Oh man, who lived in Huntington, Long Island, by the way. No, not Mike. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Mike Seaver. Sorry,
Mike Seaver. That's right.
Yeah. So
growing.
So we moved, and all of a sudden, I'm in my dream situation of I'm a kid in a Long Island suburban school, and this is going to be the childhood I always wanted, right? And I had a great life. I had a great childhood, and I loved my school and where I was from, and I left when I graduated high school. I left this place as a man who was proud of where he came from, but now was ready for the next step. And I went out there in college and did my whole thing. And I spent most of my career in the New York City area. And then everything hits the fan, and I'm at square one again. And I have to start over. And I focused on family like I talked about. But then when I was ready to come back professionally, which was that missing part of me, I stayed in Farmingdale. I said, this is the place that raised me. I owe it to this place to be here. I don't ever want to move my business out of Farmingdale. And I said, something good is going to happen here. And what happened is this town did what it always does, and it embraced me.
Yeah.
It wrapped me up in its magic, and it helped me thrive again. And I developed old relationships, new relationships, and it's been such a crazy thing, right? To kind of do this. So where was I going with this was last year I had a special moment in that I was inducted into my high school's Hall of Fame, right? Which was a huge deal for me. This was a huge deal for me. I said something during that speech that is kind of a mantra for me at this point, in that I didn't deserve to be in that Hall of Fame at all. You know, the last few years of what I've been doing in the community and in business, it's been good. It's been great. But honestly, for the first 30 or so years of my life, I was a mediocre citizen of this planet at best.
Okay.
And thank you for honoring me here, and I appreciate this. But my goal is to one day feel like I actually deserve this. So I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve this honor and making up for all the shit I did in the first 30 right? And it's kind of it's crazy how, you know, that became a mantra for me, and it became so important in my life, and that's what kind of drives my mission, you know?
Sure. So for those of you tuning in right now, we're talking about not only evolving, but sort of when is the right time to evolve. And George brought up this idea of spark moments, right? And it gets me to think about what Abraham Maslow said. Abraham Maslow started talking about you know, what is it that really drives us? What is it that drives us? And he wrote this little quote that has always stuck with me. And it said that what a man thinks that he can be, he must then be. He must become that. And in many ways, I can see that either happening through spark moments, or, you know, for me, it wasn't spark moments at first, George. It was moments in which, like, I knew I was destined for something else, or I could do something else. I didn't know what it looked like. I couldn't articulate it yet. And so, but I did know that at the end of the day, when I went and laid my head on the pillow, I would say to myself, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to die with regrets. Like, I'm going to die with regrets. I'm going to articulate it on the deathbed. And I didn't want that. And so it was time, for me, that's when it was time to start really exploring, what does it mean for Mark Cordone to become a Mark Cordone 2.0? Mark 2.0, as you know, Tony Stark calls it, his Mark suits. And by the way, since you couldn't hear me at the very beginning, we are with Muscles Marinara, the 106-pound intercontinental champion. It's your boy Manila Ice. He and I are gonna face off in WrestleMania in Tampa. Oh, brutal. I can't believe you have to look at that on a regular basis. I mean, we're talking about the idea of evolution. So give us some love, give us some hearts, let us know that you're with us. Here's something that I'm really interested in. So we're beginning to feel, whether it be a spark or this sort of aching pain inside of us, but either way, it's something internal, right? So once we start engaging in that internal process, how do we actually get into assessing our flaws and accepting that you can still be like authentic without all the bullshit, you know? To me, there's so much ego that's wrapped into things that like you can be very blind to things that are obvious, when it comes to your evolution. Like I'm thinking to a Price Pritchard metaphor that he used once, and he said that, you know, when we're looking to evolve, basically we're like flies that keep flying into a window, and we're so ignorant that the solution is easy out there that we don't realize that right next to that window there's an open door. And if we just be introspective and think about what it is that we want, we can actually just look to the side and fly out of the house. How do you look at this idea of introspection that could lead to evolution?
Yeah, so introspection was really kind of what sparked the forward progress in my journey, right? I said before, you know, you asked me if I knew at the time that people, you know, that I was the problem or people didn't want to be around me or whatever. And I didn't, because ego was getting in the way. Introspection is what helped me sort of realize that, you know, and you kind of sit down and go, all right, something's wrong here. We need to get this shit together. You know, let's make a list, you know, and I sit down and I really start thinking about the parts of me that I wasn't a fan of, you know, anger or bullying or just my attitude in general. And all right, why is that happening? And it's almost like you're giving yourself therapy, you know, if you have the ability to, and some people don't have that ability. And for me, it was really important to kind of sit and think about every area of it and talk to the people that you love about it. You know, talk to the people around you and ask, like, what did I do? Tell me. Be honest with me.
Is that what you did when you were going into that introspective stage? Or when you do go into the, like you feel that calling to go into an evolution? And is that what it looks like for you?
Yeah. So, in a way, yeah. In the beginning, it was just me. You know, there was a lot of just loneliness in the beginning, and kind of it was you know, my kids' reactions to me is how I would sort of gauge it initially, right? And they were little at the time, and then you kind of, as you become, it's weird, as you become a better father, all of a sudden you're just becoming a better person in general. Right? Because they're going to give you the most honest answer. You know, there's no filter there.
Daddy, you were kind of a shithead.
Yeah. They'll tell you you're a shithead. So that's kind of where it started. And, you know, I'm very lucky to have a relationship with my wife, my wife of almost 1 year now, who she and I have such a special, honest relationship in terms of telling each other, you know, what's going on, how we're feeling. And we had to build to that. It wasn't like that in the beginning. We sort of had to build to that. But I love how, you know, our relationship is at the level where I had a lot of speaking going on last October, right? I had a marathon of traveling and speaking. I was all over the place. And the fall time is just a busy time for me in general, between work and my kids' school. And I had a lot of stuff going on. And she said to me, she goes, you know, you speak a lot to other people about work-life balance. And she goes, you're not pulling it off right now. Message received. And
message received.
Yeah. And I go, I made the time, and I had the like 5 days of travel for speaking in Florida, and she took time off work and came with me, and we were able to kind of, you know, have that reset during that time period. But I appreciate that honesty, because from anybody. You know, I have a group of very close friends who really stuck by me, you know, during the tough times.
I wouldn't be surprised if that conversation with your wife, which was received by Muscles, was a conversation that led to even more evolution on your part, right? Yeah. Because, you know, it's one thing to become that guy, like you said that you became. It's another thing to start from scratch again. But then what happens is as you start building up again, you start getting pulled in a million different directions again. And you can easily lose sight of what that inner voice was in the first place.
Yeah.
So how amazing is it that you have this virtuous partner to remind you, like, hey, dude, you know, what you just said up there, you're not practicing that, bro.
Yeah.
You know?
No, but it's so important because, you know, for me, one of the most important things in our relationship was that she understood how important that part of me was, that work part of me, and she also understood that I had this need for more, right? Like not more for myself, but just more like, you know, why do I go help at other organizations? Why do I need to get involved in every cause? Why do I have to join every club? And I see the list on my watch party of who's on here. There's a lot of people who are in some of the same organizations that I'm a part of, and clubs and community. And she understands that that's just a part of me. That's the man in me that really needs to be out there and sort of spreading the love and trying to help as many people as I can and giving a helping hand out there. So that part of it's important because we communicated that early on in our relationship. Like, hey, like this is, and I was kind of refining myself. So it was like, this is kind of who I am. This is who I think I am. And I think like there's certain time that I need to dedicate to this part of my life. And you know, it's easy with my wife because she understands that part of me and she appreciates that, and she's my biggest cheerleader when it comes to that. So, you know, I love her for that very much. It's important. Otherwise, it would be a problem.
It also sounds like when it, like I think that you in particular using the word receiving is very purposeful, and so it's giving me this intuitive hit to go and follow up with that. Have you always been the type of person that's been open to receiving that type of feedback?
No.
Okay, and how would you react in the past versus this time around?
I was a dick. Is that answer your question?
Yeah, you were a total heel. Muscles Marinara was a total bad guy.
Hold on, let me clarify that for you. I was saving this for the golden mic, but I was a dick.
Amazing. And look now in your watch party. Look at now in your watch party, which is really a dedication to the work, the inner work that you've done and the introspection. I do have a follow-up on that introspection. So we're doing the introspection, George. What's the next step? Like, where do you go after introspection? Because like you could have your mindset readjusted, you could have everything readjusted, your heart's in the right place. What do you call the next step after introspection?
Your actionable phase, right? The execution of what you so you just gave yourself therapy, you know, you figured out what's going on, you figured out some of your problems, you figure out the path that you need to, or maybe you didn't figure out that path, but the execution part is, all right, how do I take all this data that I just got from my own head and how do I make an actionable plan to execute on who I want to become? Because that's the end goal, right? It's your authentic self, who you want to become. So you need to really create actionable goals.
So good.
Why I'm good at what I do in business is because to me, business and life, they're the same thing, you know? And a lot of people even ask me, what industries do I work in business when I consult for companies, and it doesn't matter to me. I work in every single industry because at the core, the fundamentals of what I do is about people. So there's people, everything works with people. It won't work without people. So if what I do is about the foundations of business and speaking to people and engaging people and activating people in the proper way to make them successful and profitable and happy, then that should apply to life too. That should apply to every industry.
I love it. And I want to throw this out there because there's a lot of different ways to take action. And also for people who are evolving, some actions could feel like a huge leap, right? Like, oh my God, I'm completely doing a 180 of what I was before. And it's like I'm Sisyphus pushing a rock up a hill, right? This is going to be hard. Other people are like, no, it's super simple. Just Kaizen that shit. Like 1% a day, grow 1% a day. Then there's other people who are like big, hairy, audacious goal, make the declaration. Like, I'm a changed George. I'm a baby face now. I'm no longer a heel. I'm here for all you people in New York, right? Like, what do you see as being the keys to successful, actionable steps?
So the journey and the goal have to be aligned, right? And there can't be too much wavering there. Now, life happens, right? So obviously you can't follow a straight line in life, but the end goal shouldn't be, there are long-term goals and short-term goals. The long-term goal, the end goal, shouldn't have a finite endpoint to me. It's, I want to become this person. That's my goal. It's not to get $1 million, because you can get $1 million and still be a dick, or you can get $1 million and then have to start over on the next goal. That's not a goal. The goal is, for me specifically, is I want to be a good person. I want to be, I back when I didn't feel like a good person, I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize that guy. You almost look in the mirror and go, my God, like, I'm not even my father's son anymore. You know what I mean? Like, but I want to look to the future and see a guy that my kids are proud of, a guy that my wife is proud of, a guy that has changed something, really gone out there, not said he was going to change something, actually did something. And that's a very vague goal. And I think that's okay as a mission in life.
Yeah.
And then you set your small goals on the way there. What can I do to achieve that goal in my life? But there are a few caveats to all that, in that no matter what you do, I think that being of service and being a good person is really paramount to all of that. Like, you're not going to achieve those goals and get to that, that end goal without being a good person and becoming a person of service. And that doesn't mean you have to do what I do or what you do. My kids and I were talking about this yesterday. We had a very meaningful conversation in the car yesterday, because we watched, I'm a sucker for inspirational videos, right? I watch I don't know if you're familiar, I watched the Never Give Up speech by Jimmy Valvano, the ESPYs, at least twice a week in its entirety. And I cry when I watch it. And his whole mantra of think, laugh, and cry every day is something that I literally do. It's so important to me. So my kids and I were talking because for any basketball fans out there, Dwyane Wade from the Miami Heat just retired after all this amazing career. And Budweiser put out this commercial that was incredible. So I'll keep it brief, but Dwyane Wade had this thing he did this year as he was retiring, where he had a jersey swap at the end of the last time they would play a specific team. The best player on their team and Dwyane Wade would swap jerseys at the end of the game, and he's collecting them for whatever. That's kind of his sentimental token from his final season. So what Budweiser did is they created a commercial where they spoke about these jerseys, and they said, we want to give him 5 more to collect. So he's in the middle of the stadium in Miami, and Budweiser had set up for 5 people to meet Dwyane Wade, and he didn't know who they were. One of them was the sister of a student that died in the Parkland tragedies, who Dwyane Wade, after this kid died, Dwyane Wade reached out to the family. Dwyane Wade hand wrote the kid's name on his sneakers during that time period in order to, honor him. A mom whose family home burned down 10 days before Christmas, and Dwyane Wade took her entire family out on a shopping spree when he found out. A young man who was from the projects and couldn't get out, and it was because of Dwyane Wade's words and his attitude that he was able to get out and get a job. One of them was his mom, who messed up in life and had to give him up and turn herself into the police for a crime she committed. And because Dwyane Wade stuck around and gave her support during this time, she came out a better person, and she could be a mom to him when she came out. So what did they do? They said, we don't have jerseys for you, but we have this. And the young man gave Dwyane Wade the blazer that he wore to his first job interview. His mom gave him a priest's robe with his number on it, because he bought her a church. The Parkland sister gave him the Brothers championship jersey that he wore in his last basketball season before he passed away. So we watched this commercial and we spoke about it, and we talked about what it means to be of service. And I asked them what it physically means to them. And they said to me, it means to help people and do things not for recognition, but just to help them out of the goodness of your heart. And we talked about what those things are, and they understood that for them, it's a small thing. It's a boy in my daughter's school lost his ball, and she said like, oh, he's, his family doesn't do very well, like they're poor, she said. I don't even know who this person is that she's talking about, but she goes, I want to get him a new ball because he was so sad when his ball went over the fence. That's how you are of service to people. Like, it doesn't take this big, not just for profit thing that I'm trying to put together. It's helping one person, being good to one person.
Yeah. I love it, Iron Man. And by the way, did Dwyane Wade lose his marbles when he got those final 5 jerseys?
And his mom.
Yeah,
when his
he
mom
lost his marbles.
He lost his marbles. Yeah, it's a great commercial.
That's pretty amazing. Watch the one with Cena. They do it to Cena because he did so many Make-A-Wishes. Oh my lord!
Yeah, great,
unbelievable. What I do love about sort of the Dwyane Wade story, your story, the conversations you're having with your kids about this, in terms of being a good person and being of service, is that these concepts have been around for ages. I mean, Aristotle called this eudaimonia, living life with the good demon, daemon, the good demon on your shoulder, and listening to that good demon. And what I really love about it is this idea that, hey, you can set a goal for yourself for $1 million. However, and this is what I feel like you're implying right now, is you could set the goal for $1 million and you could achieve that goal. But if you don't have the internal mechanisms, if you don't feel what the emotional feeling will be like, then it's just an empty goal. The emotional feeling of getting $1 million and knowing that you're going to help a lot of people with that, that feels like goal achievement to me, because like, not only do you get the dopamine hit that you got that goal, but you also get that sort of heartfelt, like, I as a person got to do all of this work, even if it was little deeds, right?
Right.
I absolutely love it. And I think that, you coming from the business world, myself coming from the psych world, the first thing that I was taught in creating goals, before they taught us SMART goals and BHAGs and stuff like that, was the goal must light you up. It must internally, like, it's not like how you'll feel when you get $1 million. It's what is that going to bring you? Well, it's going to bring me happiness from the standpoint that I get to serve this person or that person. Absolutely love that whole idea that the journey and the goal have to be aligned. Man, I want to hate you, George Andriopoulos, but like, you're such a good guy. I can't help it but I have this little man crush on you right now. So like, let's talk about what success means to you now. I know that by the way, it's 54 after. We went into flow, bro.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Love it.
What does success at one point was that all those commas in your paycheck, right? What does it look like for you now?
Success is totally different now. Success is great question. Success is the satisfaction of helping other people, which is okay to feel, by the way. A lot of people, there's a negative connotation about that it's selfish to help other people for the feeling of helping other people. I don't think that's the case. So success is the satisfaction you get from helping other people. Success is just a feeling of being yourself in your situation, right? There's a lot of, when you're in a situation that brings desperation, right? Whether it's like, money struggles or relationship struggles or whatever, you become a different person. Again, equating this to business is, you're the best salesperson when you're yourself in the sale, right? When you're comfortable in your own skin. So it's the same in terms of happiness, where, if you can be yourself in your life and not strive to be somebody else, that's happiness to me. Happiness is I'm a big response person. I love eliciting a response from other people. So I do like when other people are proud of me. That's part of success to me. But the biggest thing is making an impact, right? making
Yeah.
an impact where if you run your life right and your family's there and you love each other, that's incredible, and you can't have success without that too. But for me specifically, it's even more than that. It's just making an impact while living your best life.
You talk about how we're ever evolving, right? And I can see it, like just from the contrast that you provide to the George you were a couple years ago. What's the next evolution for you?
Yeah. So I don't know. What's exciting is I don't know, right? I'm still on that journey. My latest journey, because I try and break this journey up into little snippets of my life. But I'm gonna go back to when I was talking about the high school Hall of Fame induction. These little snippets are so important in order for you to feel accomplished in yourself. I tell a story in a lot of the public speaking I do, the motivational stuff, about this ring right here, right? So this ring is a ring that I had made last year. So the quick version of this is when shit hit the fan in my life and I was getting divorced and the whole thing, and times were tough, even financially, I had to liquidate a lot, right? I had to liquidate a lot, and I wound up getting rid of all the comforts in my life and living a very simple life for a few years. And that included getting rid of just a bunch of jewelry that I never wore, that to me, was about status, and I wasn't about status anymore. And unfortunately, whether I remember it or not subconsciously, I don't remember this, but I got rid of my high school class ring. And as a Farmingdale guy, as I mentioned before, that this place means so much to me. I was heartbroken when I came out of the trance where I sort of realized that it was gone. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do? So I promised myself at the time that I would replace it when it was time. And it wasn't long before, I had the financial means to replace it. It wasn't about the money, but there wasn't really a spark to do it. So when I got the call about being inducted into my high school Hall of Fame, that's when I said, okay, this is the time. So what I did was and I remember that old ring, I remember every detail about it. I had it replicated, but I also, on one of the sides, honored the 2018 Hall of Fame induction as sort of, 97 graduation, 2018 Hall of Fame, as sort of a reminder to myself of how I had come full circle, right? So it was so important to me. So that was just, it felt like this part of my life was like over. Like I can take that off my shoulders, and I sort of made up for some of the stuff when I did that. But to me, it's constantly about that. So that was kind of the moment where, when I realized that part was over, I go, all right, well, so what am I looking ahead to now? And then I said, you know what, I'm turning 30. This was last year. I'm turning 39 this year. And I'd like to accomplish some stuff by the time I'm 40. So that was my big thing when I turned 39 this year. I set a personal list for myself, very personal, about some of the stuff that I want to do by the time I'm 40 and some of the impact I want to make. And a lot of that was the not just for profit thing.
Yeah.
A lot of nonprofit work that I'm doing, and trying to make an impact with. And yeah, so that's the goal right now. That's the next goal. Once I hit 40 in December, who knows? We're on to the next. But it's all down that same path.
And what is the things we think and do not say, the future of our business? What is that you're giving to us for download?
Yeah, so I'm going to share.
We talked about it beforehand. It's not a funnel.
No,
it's not a funnel.
This is not a funnel. This is not a funnel. This is a piece that I put out for myself. I needed to write this for my soul. When they release Speakers Who Dare on Binge Networks, and I share this video, you guys will get a better idea of what this is about. But for all my 90s babies out there that saw Jerry Maguire, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love Jerry Maguire, bro.
And so the beginning of the movie, Jerry Maguire has his moment where he wakes up from a nightmare and he realizes what a creep he's become and how selfish his industry is. And he starts writing, and he decides to write his mission statement, and he starts writing and writing, and he's writing all about how bad his business has become and how the answer is less money, less clients, more caring. And something just hit me one day. This was years ago. This was like 4 years ago that I started thinking about writing this and putting it together. And it's short. Like the PDF is only 11 and 12 pages. On an ebook, which I'll share the PDF with you guys. On an ebook, it's like 30 pages. But it's a short thing where I said, you know what, let me write this. Let me see what this looks like. And I wrote a few pages and I put it down for 6 months, and I wrote a few pages because that evolution was still happening.
Yeah,
and
you're in the middle
I would think like, my goal was I want to finish this tonight. It's not too hard for me. I could write, 30 pages in my sleep, right? But I want to finish this, and I would stop and go, the story's not done yet. I got to live a little more. And finally, this past year is when I kind of hit this moment where I go, this is ready. So the things we think and do not say, the future of our business, is the same exact name and cover as the mission statement from the Jerry Maguire movie that Tom Cruise wrote.
Wait, is it also like, is it blue too
and
it's stuff?
Blue. Yep. It's blue. Yep. It's blue. It's the exact same cover. It's that Catcher in the Rye feeling, right?
It's amazing.
And what it is an explanation of my mindset and who I am and what kind of caused this evolution and how it relates to the business world. Because remember now, my industry is the business world.
Yeah.
That I consult in the business world, not a specific industry. So when I look at the business world as a whole, I've been disgusted at times, and other times I'm proud of certain things, but in general, I think we're heading down a really bad path. So this mission statement is there. It's a culmination of my thoughts on how my life relates to the business world and how I got out of a situation I was in, and how if the business world sort of takes the same mindset, that it can start heading in the right direction. And what this is meant to be is, and I'll sort of say this now, not like a big announcement, but I've been approached by a lot of colleagues in the last couple of years about writing a book, and I haven't really had an idea of what this would be about. I've sort of in the last 6 months really put a lot of thought into this, and I think I'm ready to go. So this mission statement will be the prologue to my book that I am writing this year, and we'll see how that all goes. But that's what this mission is about.
You call your shot, muscle marinara. You call your shot,
Kobe.
Now, for those of you who want to download this, again, it's not a funnel, which I think is very refreshing. It just is what it is, and it's thoughts to paper and someone who's activated around so sort of the idea of the future of business. GeorgeAndriopoulos.com. If you're having trouble with spelling Andriopoulos, that's why it's in the show notes, baby. Just one click away. That's all we need. George, Muscles Marinara, you're coming down to Tampa with me in WrestleMania, my friend. You're coming to Tampa. Dude. We're gonna be in Ray J, like right there, watching The Undertaker and Sting go at it. This is the dealio. I want you back. In the show notes, we have the mission statement right there. George posted them up.
Okay.
George, you have not said enough, but for now, you've said enough, my friend. We're going to shut the show down, but before we do, if anyone has been impacted with George talking about his story and sort of the vulnerability and sort of his honesty, like this, love it, want some more of it, and share it out. Jazz Bianchi's going to do it. Jazz is up in here watching us right now. Yeah, JB's in here. Now this is what we're going to do, my friend. I'm going to have you back on the show if that's cool with you. And but for now, we're going to end the show with this, a visioning activity, if you will. And this is why the show's called the Golden Mic. There is a golden mic that is descending from your ceiling over there in wonderful New York, the city of champions. Now, this mic has the potential, the power to translate into every language. Yeah, do it. Let that mic descend. All across the world. Translated into every language. Everyone's listening. George, you've said a lot today, but what is it that you have to say to the world now that the entire world is listening? George Andriopoulos, your golden mic is live now.
It's 2 words. 2 words is the mantra here. It's be better. You do not have to be defined by your mistakes. but you definitely need to make up for them in your life. Be better than you were yesterday. Be better than you are today. As small or big as that is, be better. That's my golden mic drop.
No. Oh, wait. Don't drop it. Don't drop it. It's gold. It's made of gold. Well, actually, since it's on the ground, stomp it. Stomp on that golden mic. Smash it. Smash it. George Andriopoulos, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved the fact that in the last month or so, there's 20, 25 new people in my life that I both look up to and consider colleagues, and you're one of them. It's awesome having you in my life. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal, everybody. We're shutting off the golden mic. It's Friday, and we're shutting it off for a reason, because it's one thing to do social media for social good. It's another thing to hang out with the people who we love. So we're going to shut it off. We're going to hang out with the people we love this weekend. Maybe we might do some taxes or something like that. And George and I have a final question for everybody watching the replay, watching live right now. Number one is, if you're feeling happy and you're living life in your fullest of purpose, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? Golden Mike 139, you cannot cancel me. George Andriopoulos, Mark Cordone, we're shutting it down for the... Hold that face up. Hold that beautiful face. I'm going to kiss myself. Mwah. I love my beautiful face. George, thank you so much, my friend. I'll catch you on the up and up, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay, take care.
Take care.